visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create. We've got a people to inspire and empower. And generations of born and unborn Bahamians, we the people, must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, special today, Dame Jones Sawyer. She's with me today, and we're going to talk the whole 9 yards. The state of affairs of our nation. What can we do to bring it about? This is Hard Copy.
I don't have money to waste. So when it comes to insurance, I come straight to Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They find me the best rates on policies to cover my car, house, boat, business, and you get all kind of discounts. 15% off if you have a Hilltop home, 30% off if you're a first-time customer. They stay saving me money. When every dollar counts, count on Advantage.
Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years. And that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is a foundation for an even greater future. Call us to cfal.com and seize your future.
I just don't believe it.
What's the matter?
I went to put money on my fixed deposit at my bank, and they ain't even offering me half a 1% interest. Now, they got to be joking.
Why don't you try BOB? BOB gives you higher interest on a range of savings and deposits, including short, medium, and long-term investments.
Now, that sounds like my kind of bank.
That's why BOB is my bank.
Earn higher interest on a range of savings and fixed deposits at BOB, your bank of solutions. Some restrictions apply.
It's summer, and Commonwealth Bank wants to know, are you set? Get set for all your summer expenses with a personal loan from Commonwealth Bank. Get cash for summer travel, back to school, whatever you need, with fast approval and great service. Plus, there are weekly cash prizes and a grand prize of $5,000. Get a MasterCard, too, for everyday expenses. So, get set, get ready, and get over to Commonwealth Bank today.
Ah, it tastes so good. Fresh, clear, ultra pure. Available at your neighborhood depot and nearest store. Echo Water, premium distilled. Don't be surprised. It comes in just your size. 20 ounces, 1 and 5 gallons, and 1.5 liters. Echo Water, just what the body needs.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and generators back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
God's power flows where there is high expectation. With this season you're in, don't just hope, expect. And there's a major difference between hoping and expecting. When you hope for something, there is no real sense of certainty that is going to take place. You just hope it does. Build a culture of high expectations. To expect is to plan for. To expect means that there is a strong possibility, even a degree of certainty, that something would happen or be achieved.
You have 5 years And you will come after, when your 5 years is basically up, to say, now I'm going to ask for attendance? No. They're causing the Bahamas to come, like Isaiah said, precept upon precept upon precept, but nobody is going to law fairly or justly. They're not doing what is just and right. When you form children in sand, it has no shade, can't stand out. This is what they've done to the education system. And that was, in my opinion, the worst thing they've done in this country. After they lost it, they then said it was an opinion poll. They've gone through all the steps necessary for it to be a referendum by going to Parliament and then having the bill brought before the people for their approval. And when the people voted no, they said it was an opinion poll. The gaming provision does not require a referendum. If she was a lawyer, and she is a lawyer, she should know it didn't. So to pretend to the public that a referendum was necessary, she couldn't point to one single provision in the Constitution under which that would have come. It was unnecessary and a waste of funds and time. I believe too strongly in my God and my Savior to do the foolishness she has done. They have nothing to tell us as to what they did for 5 years and all the time we gave them for 5 years to make this country at least move it one step further to being something.
It is Tuesday, the first day in the month of August, 2017. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have a mix of sun and cloud today, 94 degrees on the outside right now, a low tonight of 80 degrees, and there's a 20% chance of rain in the forecast. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by CFAL, Kalina Financial Advisors Limited, the Bank of the Bahamas, your bank of solutions. The new South House on Wolf Road, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, Water and Sewage Corporation, the Ministry of Tourism, travel the islands this summer, Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Commonwealth Bank, your new debit card awaits you right now for travel. Cool Tech, the air and new experts on Tonique Williams Darling Highway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Super Wash, open 24/7, Manager Shores and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors on Claridge and Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, and the McKinney Media Group Limited for advertisement, public relations, and the consultation. You want to see us first. Dame Jones Sawyer on Hard Copy this afternoon, because there's a whole lot that we have to talk about and a whole lot that the nation needs as far as being edified, being educated, being informed today, and we've got the right person in Dame Jones Sawyer, and we will be sharing with her and with you today on Hard Copy. You can call Hard Copy at 325-0235 or 6. You can also WhatsApp and text us at 376-9234. You can follow us on the World Wide Web at peace1075.com. You can go to the Hard Copy YouTube channel right now. Click on it. There we are. How you doing today? Cable Top Box 970 plus BTC Flow on the go at 613. You can also get us on TuneIn Radio. That's iPad, iPhone, and the Android, or on the app Radio Air. Just go to your telephones, look at it, and you'll call us right up just like that. Follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. Now, former Court of Appeal president, that is what she is, a free thinker, highly respected within the legal fraternity, outspoken and on points, and a nation builder who desires real, honest-to-goodness, truth, and change in the Bahamas. She retired as Court of Appeal president in November of 2010 after a distinguished career on the bench of both the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. She served as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court from 1996 to 2001 and as president of the Court of Appeal from 2001 to 2010. She holds the distinction of being the first woman to serve as Chief Justice and President of the Court of Appeal. And today we welcome to our microphones for the very first time, my first chance of getting to talk with this distinguished woman. And of course, I welcome Dame Jones Sawyer. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm happy to have you here today. I've been waiting my turn to get you to sit on the microphones with me and talk about nation building, talk about the things that we need to be talking about to refocus our country, because our country in many ways are not focused. Of course, we've just had a general election. And of course, there's been a change in government. And of course, we've got new attitude and ambition for those who are now in the seat of power. But we have some of the same old problems. Some are reoccurring, some have not been dealt with as yet. But we are trusting that it's going to get better. That's all we can trust on right now, that things will get better, because we know that the situation was in a whole lot of mess. And perhaps as we talk today, maybe we'll get some clarity as to where we should be going in our town. And I wanted to ask you this, Dame Jones Sawyer. If you, Madam Justice, were to be the one right now to set the tone for the country and to get us moving in the direction that you feel that we should be moving in, what are some of those things that would be top on your priority list right now to revolutionize, to re-energize this country? Because in many ways we are in the doldrums and we want to break out. We want to look anew. We want to look afresh. We want to look like new Christian soldiers marching in a new direction to accomplish things that we know we are blessed to accomplish. But sometimes people are off page, and you understand the story. And so that's why what would it be? What would you, in fact, put out front right now today if you were hypothetically sitting in the chair as leader of our country? Don't go hypothetically.
No, I'd never be leader of the country. I've always run away from promotions.
Understood.
Yeah, because I truly believe that promotion comes from God.
Mm-hmm.
He will, as Psalm 75 says, he lifts up and he puts down.
That's right. No question about it.
You know, and I only took the Chief Justice position after Mr. Sam Wilkinson. You remember him?
Sam Wilkinson, yes.
And one of our, what I call them, philosophers.
Yes.
He said to me one day, you know, you have to stop running away. You have to take the job.
You got to face
You
the
have to
music.
take the job.
Mhm.
We say you can't be like Jonah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really realize how serious he was until I looked at the name Jonah and I realized that my name was
right.
in Jonah.
That's right. Serious.
Just minus the H, you know.
Mhm, mhm,
And so I said, oh my word, is this what the Lord is calling me to do? Because, you know, Lord, you know, I don't really like these kind of things.
Yeah, you want to be to the background.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I prefer being in the background.
Yeah.
But God has put me and pushed me into the position where I had to do some things that had never been done in the Bahamas before.
Yeah.
And one of them was bringing the Privy Council out of England
Yes.
for the first time in its history.
That's right.
It never sat outside London in its more than 400 years of history.
Mhm.
But the first place it sat outside London
Right here in the
was in the
Bahamas.
Bahamas. Nobody seemed to appreciate the historicity of that.
Yeah, that's a very important point,
That
because
was
and two, notwithstanding you did that, but also there was the whole reorganization of the appeals court. I remember one time they applauded you like there was no tomorrow because of what you would have done to reorganize and formulate an adequate appeals court.
Well, I actually was blessed with a young lady, Mrs. Indira Demerit Francis, who came to me
Yes.
as assistant registrar down in the Supreme Court.
Mhm.
And she has a gift for administration. So if I asked her to do something, she's like the kind of person who, she doesn't just go and pretend that she's doing it.
Mhm.
She will go and try it to get it done the way what you said. If in trying to do that, she found that there was a difficulty, she'll come back to you
Mhm.
and say, well, there's this, that difficulty, that.
Mhm.
You discuss it, you trash it out, and then we go away and you get a product. But most of the administrators I've had to deal with in the public service have been people who know it all.
Understood.
And that is one of the main problems for the country.
Yeah.
I came up in the civil service under no administrators until 1964, 65, when we got our first constitution. Then we got a number of permanent secretaries, and Secretary of Cabinet from abroad. They were Englishmen.
That's right.
Trained in administration.
Right.
You know, they dot their I's and cross their T's.
All the time.
All the time. So Sir Brian Marwick was my mentor in that regard. And I saw him at Public Works where he reorganized the entire filing system and drew our attention to the need for being vigilant as to where the files were. Files were not just to sit on people's desks.
Yes.
Jobs were to be taken. You had a policy file followed by a work file. So if the government took a policy decision to create, like, say, a new building, like what was the old government high school, now the College of Bahamas, that would be a policy decision. But the whole working file with the drawings and everything else would be in the building division file.
That's right.
And if that file wasn't moving as it should be.
You're talking about organization.
Organization ability.
That's a big difference these days.
There's too much of winging it.
Yeah.
There's no attempt to follow things through.
Think it through, plan it properly, organize it.
And execute it.
Execute it.
You know? One of my clerks in the Supreme Court, when I used to be hearing criminal cases and civil cases, because in addition to administration, I did a lot of things.
Yes.
Like I did all the probates and administration of estates myself. On a Wednesday night, I would do that.
Is that right?
Yes. I followed Sabola and Telford Georges and those who'd done it. And as the Chief Justice, I did it.
Wow.
So basically, when I came into the office of Chief Justice, there was a backlog in that particular area with this same young lady I talked about.
She must be a great organizer.
She is.
Is she still there?
She's actually now president of the Industrial Relations Tribunal.
There you go.
And she's reorganizing that.
Well, you know, it needs a little organization.
Well, not only that, she's already produced 2 annual reports.
There you go.
You see?
Wonderful.
But because I told the Lord I needed at least one person to help me. And he sent her to me. And from the time she joined me, all the things I was trying to do began to get done.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who were supposed to be assisting me were just frittering away the government's money and couldn't show me what they'd done with it.
And they know you are a person who
accountability.
It has to be done properly all the time. Properly.
I want to see the paperwork that went into these agreements and so on.
If we had more people like yourself in these key positions, we perhaps wouldn't have the kind of fritting away of public funds and the kind of lackadaisical attitude to approaching these jobs, so very important jobs. We need more people like that. But is the civil service now, still, deep bench with people like that? You suppose that we're losing them all, and we're getting a bunch of new people who don't really, who can't really cut it?
I wouldn't even say we're necessarily getting a bunch of new people, because some of the old ones are just as bad.
Just as bad.
I would say that the attitude of mind that I grew up with and the attitude of most of the people in my generation was different. And that started in our homes.
Very true.
You know, you did not go to work to waste time. You went to work because you had to work in order to eat. If you didn't work, you didn't eat.
There's a big difference, eh?
Yeah. And the thing that was stressed in my home where I grew up, very poor, had very little of the world's goods. But what was stressed was respect. Respect for your elders, respect for yourself, and respect for your neighbors.
Another thing that's missing today, for the most part.
So how do we get it back?
That's the big question. That's why I asked, how do we reorganize ourselves? How do we get ourselves back on the track where we used to be? And is that possible at all? Or are we not to talk about the good old days, what they used to be? Because, the point is, the young people would tell you, and a lot of people would tell you that today, man, that's yesterday's news. That's how it used to be. We are a different group of people. We have different ideas. We want to do things in a different way. We don't subscribe to the way that you guys did it back then. And a lot of it is emptiness, because they don't have the kind of molding that many of your generation and my generation would have had to do the right thing, to be honest about things, to go into whatever you're doing with all of your strength, and not just halfway do things. anything worth doing is worth doing well. If just leave it alone if you're not going to do it properly. These are admonitions that our parents gave us. Certainly mine gave it to me, and I'm sure in your generation this was the thing that undergirded you. But for some reason, it is non-existent in many households today, and it goes into the workplace and into the professional businesses, and we see that we can't get things going anymore because we lack this basic fundamental knowledge.
I think you're completely right in all that you said about that. But I can't give up because I believe that with God, all things are possible.
Absolutely.
And I have been saying from 1974, my very first public speech as a lawyer, I went to Exuma to speak, and I was accompanying Dame Marguerite Pinling. And I spoke to the women's club there. And I said something that I don't know if Zedna still has a record of it, but they played it for weeks and weeks afterwards. Because I said to them that if you gave me, one of the things I said was, if you gave me 1,000 grandmothers like my own who brought me up from 6 months, I would solve the crime problem in the Bahamas.
Wow.
And that was a compliment to my grandmother, who's still alive.
Understood. She's still alive.
But she's still alive. She was a dime,
At the time, yeah.
But she's not alone in that. There were many grandmothers of her generation and the generation that's immediately behind her. Who brought up their grandchildren, especially the ones who were illegitimate. And they've kept them from becoming statistics because they trained them the way they trained their children, which meant that my grandmother used to control us with her eyes.
Just one look,
Just one look, and that was it. When those eyebrows, the eye winkles, what they call it, go up.
Yeah.
The eyelids went up and came down. Shut up.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
Enough of that.
And she used to say to us, you must respect yourself and you must respect other people.
Absolutely.
If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will respect you.
Nobody's going to respect you.
And she used to say, no matter what the person is, the office they hold, respect them for the office, if only.
Yes.
So the man may be a terrible man.
Yeah.
But if he holds an office, you can say, yes, sir.
Yeah. No question about it.
No question about that.
So these are things that took you through your life's journey and got you to the highest place in your chosen career. Absolutely.
They're the things that formed many of us. There are many people in this country who only went to grade 6 in the old heights, the old Western Senior and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And I would put them against many of those who come out of university now in terms of acumen, both intelligence and the ability to translate that intelligence into action.
That's interesting. And I will tell you that this is why when I said I was going to sit with you, I wanted to know if I went to talk with Dame Jones Sawyer, and I want to get from her whole feeling to put a complexion on this nation. I happen to know that there are a lot of things that we lack, that we're missing. We're missing in action on a lot of things. And I'm saying somebody who's not only motherly, but stern, who understands, who cares, can speak some kind of life into our country in a way. And I think that the best person that I could have come up with today was yourself, because we are at that crossroad in my mind that we are forgetting a whole lot of things, and we're forgetting how to thank God for a lot of things. And as a result of that, we now are just arguing, unnecessarily about a lot of things that we ought to just be looking at it and thanking God, because it could have been worse. I mean, the things that would have happened in past times could have put us under the ground for good and forever. I'm talking about as a country trying to go high and aim high and accomplish things. But here we are. We're still here. We're still trying to carry on. We're still trying to do what is right. That's why I said to you in my opening, if you had that chance to prioritize and put things on a level of where we should be going now, what are some of those things from a national point of view that we should be really focused on? Because I'm really, in this interview, Dame Jones Sawyer, I'm trying to focus leadership, if you get me. I'm trying to focus the leadership. That is civic, that is political, that is church. We're trying to focus the leadership, because right now we don't seem to understand. We seem to be all over the place. We need to focus the leadership. And so I say, Dame Jones Sawyer, help us focus the leadership.
Jones Sawyer has no power to help anybody do anything. I go to what I do when I have a problem, even as a judge, as a parent, as a grandparent. and as a self-appointed grandparent of many boys and many young women.
Understood. I've heard of the work that you do.
I go to God first. I pray for this country every day. The leadership of this country. I pray that God will give them wisdom, the spirit of discernment, honesty, and all the fairness and things, all the necessary tools to build a decent country. I'm disappointed every time I see a politician, whichever ilk he is or she is, getting up and taking the credit for themselves for whatever has been done that is good in this country. Whatever good has been done in this country has been done by Almighty God, despite our sins. And the first thing I said that the present government ought to have done when they took power was to call the nation to repent. Because the sins of this nation are what are destroying us. We don't even like that little three-letter word anymore. But sin is a funny little force. It looks innocuous at times, but it tends to inveigle us into deeper and deeper morass. Like, for instance, the former prime minister. He is reported to have said in 2012, after the by-election, you can pray to God, but when you finish praying to God, you still have to come to me. Well, I don't know if he really said that like that. He might have been saying, you know, you pray to God and I understand that, but you come to me now, what I have to do? You know, I think he was doing it from a humility point of view, but people have used that against him.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. I don't know how he said it. God knows his mind. God knows his heart. The other thing is, he said at one point, now this I knew was reported in the paper. He said, Bahama is the savior of the country. Well, I took umbrage at that.
Yes, most people did.
Because there is only one savior, and that is Jesus Christ, my Lord. And this country claims it will be governed by Christian values. So you can't put a thing in the place of God.
Yeah.
The minute you do that, you're on the path to destruction. And no pastor, no minister, no Christian council leader told him anything about that.
Well,
they did not say to him, Mr. Prime Minister, we think you didn't really mean it that way.
We caution you.
We caution you to watch what you say, because young people are listening.
You know, talking about that, Dame Sawyer, a lot of them were paralyzed by the whole matter of being so intrigued about this big thing that's going to happen out there, and the biggest thing in our lifetime, that they were all drunk, I suppose, in a way, intoxicated with the event of the time. And you're right, that nobody rose up and said, hey, you know, you're talking gibberish here. Don't say them kind of things, because we are a Christian nation. We believe in a sovereign God. We believe in the supremacy of God, and we know that that's who we look to.
And believe you me, if he made the universe from nothing, Bahama is a joke for him to destroy.
Absolutely.
And I told him, basically, as far as I'm concerned, I have nothing against Bahama, whatever it is, but don't elevate it to the status of Jesus. Do not elevate a thing to him. That is, what do you call it? Worshipping an idol? You are erecting an idol in the Bahamas?
You know, that is how a lot of people saw that whole project. And today, the project it's still struggling.
I still see
it's struggling.
Because
but now,
they will not come and say, we're sorry, we're wrong, God. We were wrong to say that. We're wrong. We have to admit that.
You think that must happen?
That must happen. Mr. Ingram himself also implicated himself in that same vein just a couple of weeks ago when he was in Rotary.
Yes, I saw
he
that.
He said that, they can't, Merlin was wrong, was dead wrong, to ask for a moratorium, and they better not interfere with Bahama.
Don't touch that.
Don't touch that.
Leave Bahama alone.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Don't touch what?
Don't touch that sacred.
If God, there's no sacred cows in here. The cow that Aaron erected, what happened to it?
Yes, destroyed.
Do not erect idols in this land. This land is dedicated to Christ. And if you don't stop, you're going to see who you are.
Dame Jones Sawyer, a lot of politicians are of the view that what you're saying even now, to them would sound, they'll interpret that as being fanatical. That's what they would interpret it.
Well,
they would say that, she's going on with that, but really we need to have some economic engine to get this country going.
Excuse me. I know about economics. I was born poor with not a dime to my name. I've paid off more than 4 mortgages in my lifetime, and I don't owe anybody for my house I live in now on a civil service salary, and nobody can hold my name. I never took anybody's things. Okay? And I started when I was 17 working for the public service.
Understood.
And I worked with UVPs, PLPs, FNMs 1 and 2, and PLP, new PLP 1. And I tell you the truth. I tell them all what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether they like it or not, because I'm not a fanatic. A fanatic is somebody who doesn't understand what they're doing. I am serious about what I believe.
Understood.
My relationship with my God is, I pray God he keeps me faithful to that. But I can't be like the prophet who was sent to Samaria and who he was told not to eat of the food.
Mm-hmm.
And not to eat anything in Samaria. He didn't eat until he went to a prophet's house. And the prophet said, well, God didn't mean that to me. I'm a prophet too, like you. So you could
so
eat
you could
from
eat,
me.
you could eat.
So the man disobeyed God
Mm-hmm.
and ate what the prophet said before him. He went out from eating that meal and the lion killed him and left his donkey standing there and didn't eat him.
Wow.
I think it's in 2 Kings.
Yeah. You got to be obedient.
You must be obedient here as well as here.
Mm-hmm. In your
God
heart
has given me,
and in your head.
God has given me a mind that when I was a 9-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother said, what kind of child this is?
Yeah. A beautiful mind.
And I don't know, the mind I have, I don't see things the way other people see them. You and I could be talking about something. I see what you say, but
Right.
I always have a different point of view.
Understood.
For the simple reason that my grandmother said to me and to us, if everybody is saying, kill him, one person would at least say no. You must stand up for right, she says, no matter what. Does that make me a fanatic?
No.
It means that I am willing to take the blows
Mm-hmm.
from those people who are benighted in their sins, like I am.
Yes.
But at least I know I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
But they claim not to be.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
He without sin cast that first stone.
There was 2 people on earth I know who were sinless. That's Mary and our Lord.
Well,
because she had to be sinless to bear him, you know.
Listen, the thing about it is that on this point that you made, very, very interesting point, salient points that you made mention of just now, with this idolistic worship, I suppose, this kind of a special place carved out in the West for this major project, that everybody seemed to put all their apples and oranges into one basket and forgot about looking at diversification, the rest of it, and other areas of growth that could happen in this country. We are now in a new dispensation. There's a government that's been changed, and we are right back at the helm of looking at what's going to happen in our country to get the economic engines going. And so here we are with the new government now looking to that place in the West and saying, we need Bama, because the truth is, if we don't have it, Moody's and those may come down on us because we don't see any possibility for economic growth. And we need jobs for our people. And so the appreciation of Bahama has been even doubled in my mind, my way of thinking, because the new people are now looking at it and saying, this must happen. This must not fail under any circumstances. And everything is being done now to work in that particular direction. Is there something wrong with that? Is there a fallout?
Seriously wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Atlantis?
Yes.
Was another basket in which we put all our eggs, although they went in stages.
Yes.
Do you remember what happened when Atlantis laid off those 800 people?
I remember. Oh, that was a troubling time.
The man who owned the dry cleaners, Jiffy Dry Cleaners.
Yeah, Roy Bowe.
I don't know. He closed down his cleaners.
Yes.
He closed down.
He's a good friend of mine.
He closed down his cleaners.
Yes, he did.
He said because he didn't have that much business coming in anymore. And Mr. Ingram, who was then the prime minister, gave unemployment benefits to those people, although they had never paid for any national insurance, and there was no provision in the act for them to be paid.
Yes,
for
correct.
national insurance.
You're correct.
And he used National Insurance Fund, which was for which people like me had put there, and which now they don't want to give me my husband's own. They used that to pay people who had not paid for those benefits. They subsequently amended the act to do that. Those are the kinds of things that cause people to lose faith in governments. In addition to which, they have been training our people. They have so degraded the education system. They have trained our people to become job hunters rather than entrepreneurs. We don't try to do our own business. They have traded off most of our natural resources to other people, or land, our aragonite. If there's oil there, Perry Christie, it was the consultant for the people who had the license for it, conflict of interest all over the place. Those kinds of nonsense cannot lead to professionalism that is necessary to develop a proper country.
Or confidence in the government.
Or confidence in the economy.
Yes.
To have a good economy, you have to have sound government. Sound government means accountability and responsibility. The PLP government, this last PLP government, did not answer 200 questions from the opposition in 5 years.
Is there any wonder why they're not there today?
No, I'm worried about I don't care why they're not there today. I am saying they have no right now to speak. They lost that right when they didn't answer questions. Had they answered the questions reasonably and did what was necessary to inform the Bahamian public of what was going on, they may well have been the government today. Don't play with our minds, because just because we didn't go to what the place Harvard, we didn't go to Oxbridge, doesn't mean we don't have common sense. We have been living in this country without hotels long before Bahama, long before Atlantis.
We forgot that.
We have been living in this country because what we lived off was we knew how to treat one another and how to treat our guests.
No question about it.
We didn't used to rape tourists. We used to kill tourists. We didn't used to rip them off. We used to give them substandard stuff when they come to our houses. The best was reserved for our guests, whether they were white, black, or blue. We've lost the art of practicing hospitality, and yet we want to make hospitality our main industry.
Isn't that interesting?
You have to actually revisit what you've done in order to understand where you are. You have to go back, understand your history, and then come forward. This is why I said repent. Repent means turn around.
Yeah, turn around.
Look at what you've done. See where you went wrong. Correct it if you can.
So on this measure of repent, they didn't answer 200 questions or more. People wanted to know, inquiring minds were asking left, right, and center. They ignored them. Exactly. They paid the penalty, but that's not enough, because you're saying one must repent to show that there has been remorse and reconsideration and reconciliation. And
reparations.
You want reparation. You want to go in a new direction. Brave Davis went on television last night, and he was there making a speech about all kinds of things. At the end of the day, it was a 30-minute speech. At the end of the day, most people were not that impressed with it, even though he did say some things that was aimed at hitting and shellacking the government present. But he did not go as far as saying that they were sorry for anything that they did, and they wanted to mend their ways and walk in another direction. No, he just said, we made some mistakes.
You see, you are talking to adults. And some of these children who are my so-called grandchildren and great-grand, they are more intelligent than I am. They don't take the foolishness I do.
Oh yeah, they're very smart.
They might be able to express themselves as well as I can, because they're not that gifted in the English language. They're too used to the
not texting me.
Texting thing.
Spelling words backwards.
You are, R is for AARE.
Yeah,
okay.
All that stuff.
But you can't talk to them like that.
No.
They want to know what happened to the VAT money. They want to know what happened to all the customs duty. Those children sit down with me. My bunch of grandsons I adopted. I appointed myself their grandmother, actually.
Yeah, understood.
And they showed me that, one, if you bring in certain things, you were paying not just 7.5% VAT. You were also paying customs duty.
That's true.
And then you were paying VAT on that.
That's true.
And then you had to pay, if you delivered something by truck, you had to pay VAT on that. So the cost of living has increased.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. The first person who mentioned that to me was Halson Mutri, who was a guest on my show. He said that to me. He pointed out to me, and I said, well, this can't be so. And then he showed it to me, and I said, my goodness. I was amazed that this is what was happening. So it was a lot of hidden things that people did not say and explain to the Bahamian people.
But you see, and not only that, because the education system has been dumbed down, they don't teach our children what I was taught in school: how to do percentages, how to work out taxes, how you can estimate and so on, do what you do.
Yes, you're right about it.
They don't know how to budget. I knew how to budget when I was 17 and came out of school. I was able to, by the time I was 19, I had my first piece of property.
Wow.
By going in the ISUs. and doing without. Sewing my own skirts, buying a little 4 shilling blouse and wearing that and wearing my flip-flops to work. But I've saved 300 pounds in 6 months.
This is what is also missing. The national savings of the country is down in the hole.
But there's no encouragement because the banks are taking your money if you leave it in the bank. And the government is saying nothing about it. Central Bank, I wrote at one bank and I copied it to Central Bank because they were taking money out of my grandson's account. And I told him, put it back. And they had to put it back. Don't play with me. I ain't sleeping. I'm not a fanatic, but I don't believe in foolishness.
Yes, and that's the best thing. That's the best way to be, because if you don't stand for something,
you'll fall for anything.
Absolutely.
And that's why I said to them, look, it doesn't matter to me who is the government. Once you're there, understand you are our servants, not our masters.
Yes.
We elected you. We pay you. You don't pay us. The money they use to pay their salaries comes from us, the taxpayer. They take off the top of it. They cream off the top and give us what's left.
Yeah.
Our roads are in disarray. The hospital don't have medicine. This don't happen. That don't happen. You can't even begin to start to build until you clean up your act.
So this is where Dr. Minnis went when he made his presentation at the National Address last Wednesday. He went there because people were saying that we wanted to see much more, and Brave Davis was one of those last night who said this. We wanted to see much more of what your plans are for future development, et cetera, et cetera. But the first thing he had to do, apparently, was to stop this bleeding. The hemorrhaging that we've been seeing in the past 5 years, at least, has been where they've been spending widely, doing all kinds of stuff to the point where they couldn't show any accountability for this money or transparency. And at the end of the day, he decided that he had to do some things, slash spending, slash by 10% ministerial salaries and the rest of it, and talk about all the other things that he said that he was going to do.
Yeah.
And these are things that he put a freeze on hiring. He did the budget cut by 10%. He did the official cause.
Would you believe I lived through that in 1992?
Yes.
You remember Mr. Ingram?
I remember that.
His first session, he cut the minister's salary.
I remember that. Yeah.
Because before he came to power in 1992, as a judge, I used to carry my own bump to work.
Okay.
Because the government script was not accepted by the businessmen in this country. 1992.
Wow.
Did they forget that? Did Mr. Davis forget that? And we've gone back there now because of him and his. Yeah. Mr. Davis can't talk because Mr. Davis is the man who got up in Parliament and said BAMC was insured and knew it was not insured. He told a lie to Parliament. What right has he got to criticize anybody? Has he repented of that?
He didn't repent of that last night.
He should have been out of Parliament as a result of that.
But we're too easy.
No. His boss was easy. Mr. Christie had the control of the reins. He allowed his team to run riot.
Yeah.
And to do what they like.
Because this was really a terrible thing that happened with the BAMC thing and no insurance.
Look at Fitzgerald with the oil spill, which affect the area I'm living in now.
Yeah.
Some of the old people there tell me they're still seeing oily water in their sinks.
And nothing has been done yet about that.
No. And Fitzgerald was brazen to say, "Oh, we've done it." No.
Were you surprised at all that the whole lot of them were sent home?
No, I actually prayed for them to be sent home. Actually, I prayed for some of them to go to jail.
Is that right?
Yes.
Do you think they deserve to go to jail?
Oh, yes. Most assuredly.
Because of
their criminality.
Although what they did in a whole lot of cases were criminal.
Yes. For me as a judge or as a member of Parliament, to solicit a gift from somebody with whom the government is doing business is extortion, a criminal offense. Fitzgerald in the newspaper in the Tribune just before the election, you remember his emails?
Yes, I remember the emails.
That was extortion. Why isn't he charged?
Well, they should be charging him.
Exactly my point. And I know you say now because I've said it on the air, it's probably too much publicity. I don't care. I'm sick and tired of this country sweeping dirt under the rug. It will trip you down in the end.
Maybe a lot of people didn't realize that this was extortion. When I saw it, I knew that something was wrong. The first thing I said, but because I don't know the law as well, but I said,
"You're not a lawyer. I don't expect you to know."
Yeah, this is unethical. I mean, you cannot.
Davis is a lawyer who practices criminal law.
You cannot be begging somebody for money and you're doing business with him and you're saying, "Look, man, I need this done."
Fitzgerald is a lawyer.
You ought to know better.
You're deemed to know the law, especially the criminal law. Because if you read the Bible, you'll find that was forbidden as way back as Exodus.
So you expect to see more things happen. I mean, we've seen already 2 persons go before.
They haven't been tried yet.
They've not been tried. Yeah. So
they're presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Understand that.
But I did not appreciate Mr. Davis and those saying that this is a witch hunt.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's egregious. In the face of what all has happened, in the face of all the things that people have accused them of, not having any tangible proof, but having a feeling, we get that feeling that something here right here.
No, not do that. The point is that they've gone so far as to charge them before a magistrate's court.
Yes.
My difficulty with Mr. Davis and those stance about witch hunt. What was Fred Ramsey? Was he an F&M?
He was an F&M who they said
what was John Bostic?
He was an F&M senator.
Were they not charged under the PLP with criminal offenses?
Yes, they were.
And convicted?
Yes.
Did anybody yell witch hunt?
No.
So why is it that when it's somebody else, it's not a witch hunt, but when it's a PLP, it's a witch hunt? Listen, let me tell you something. I grew up, and my grandfather, who I keep telling people, formed the first PLP branch in Exuma. My grandfather was a man all for building up his race, and he sacrificed a lot. He could never get a job under the UBP, a government job, because he said what he thought.
Understood.
And he didn't suck up to anybody. His name was Percy James Allen Stirrup. And I used to go with him to the horse, and he used to carry me in front of him on the horse. And I have his spirit within me. I have that attitude of mind.
I can see that. Determined spirit.
You determined
to do the right thing.
But you try to do the right thing. Particularly when it comes to the whole world, not the world so much watching you, but your whole generation to come. What am I bequeathing my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren?
Indeed.
He fought for the secret ballot.
Yeah.
We didn't get it in 1946. And here we are. I'm so sorry that he got it in 1946 because these people don't seem to understand the importance of being honest in their voting behavior.
This is what the country is at a crossroad, the lack of honesty. Even when I do my preamble and my intro for my show, I said, we need honest discussion. We've got to be honest about things. When the Bishop Gomez wrote the crime report, the Blue Ribbon Committee did an expression.
Don't
go there.
Don't go there because basically, in 2007, when the FNN came back to power under Mr. Ingram, Mr. Tommy Turnquest was the Minister of National Security.
Yes.
And one of the first things he did that November was to call a conference at which the Archbishop and Bishop Simeon Hall and a number of prelates and very elevated people were present. I was called as the president of the Court of Appeal to speak, and I had only 10 minutes to speak. And before I got up to speak, I noticed a lot of laughter. I noticed a lot of, it's like we're having a lot of fun. And when I got up to speak, I said, I thought this was a conference about crime in the country. I was therefore most surprised to see laughter here today. And I did my mouth like that. Every face got serious.
Yeah.
I said the only person who would be happy with this would be the criminals.
Indeed.
You cannot deal with serious matter with a laissez-faire attitude.
Yes.
You have to take a position and maintain it. It's the same with rearing children. You can't tell your child today this is wrong and then tomorrow let him do it. That's what we've done to the young people in this country. What we said was wrong 10 years ago is okay now.
If it was wrong then, it's wrong now.
That is what it should be.
We don't seem to have the tenacity to
we don't bring up children anymore. Besides, as I said, the real answer where we need to start, and it's not going to happen overnight. It has to begin in the homes. You cannot change society unless you first change our approach to family life.
Understood.
The family, I've been saying this for like I said, from 74, it was always my view. The family is the bedrock of society. When the family is in peril, the society is in peril. And if society is in peril, the nation is in peril. And if the nation is in peril, the world is in peril.
And you're absolutely right. When we come back here this evening on Hard Copy, I'm enjoying this conversation with you today, Dame Jones Sawyer. I want to talk about something that's now a very, very important issue that has now risen again. Marvin Dames, the National Security Minister, brought it up. He floated this thing in a way that says, we're thinking about, capital punishment and hanging and the rest of it again. I know that you have been on this score for so many times and so many years, and I looked at some notes here where I saw that you were making statements about murders should not be an automatic sentence to death, but judged and sentenced according to their crime and the rest of it. And I know that there are a lot of things that they can learn. When I say they, the state can learn from one like you who was there. You was the Chief Justice, Supreme Court. You are also, in fact, on the appeals court, as president. You would have seen it all. And so now here we are again in a new dispensation, talking about some things that we are revisiting the old because we figure something has got to give to stop this nonsense that we see happening in our streets. We want to turn our attention to that when we come back here this evening on Hard Copy. Today, my special guest is Dame Jones Sawyer. And of course, she is just one hell of a lady, if I can say it that way, because that is the way that she is. She is forthright. She knows what she's talking about. She don't talk fool and she don't do nonsense. And she's a Christian woman with an agenda of making sure that this country can grow from strength to strength. And she believes that the foundation has got to be upon the rock. And that rock, of course, is Jesus. There's only one way that this can happen is if we get back to the basics, to the old landmark, is what the old people say. And then we can perhaps find our way. Can we find our way today? Because I'm trying to get from her how we can get on that right road, how we can get the government to be a righteous government, to focus on the right things and do the honest things in government. Is that what the new government is trying to do now? Maybe so. Is that what the opposition is trying to do? I don't know. We know that the first place that one must start is from a level of repentance, getting it right. We're going to talk more about that when we come back here this evening on Hard Copy.
Where can you find boil and stew fish, sheep tongue, turkey, pig feet, chicken, mutton souse, and stew conch served at breakfast, lunch, and dinner time? At the Souse House, we provide a relaxed family atmosphere in the center of the city, and we have been serving tasty dishes since 1982. Experienced is what we are, and cooking is what we do. We also serve traditional Bahamian soups. We serve dinner specials from a smothered red snapper to sweet desserts like wabaduff and lots more. Stop in and let us serve you today.
The best choice I've ever made is when I came back to the Water and Sewage Corporation. It felt like the more I shower, the more I wanted to shower. I felt like I was on top of a mountain and the pure water of the sky just flowing on your body.
The Water and Sewage Corporation's offer of 50% off sign-up services is back for residents in New Providence and the Family Islands. Offer valid for a limited time only. Some restrictions may apply. Sign up today. The Water and Sewage Corporation. Committed to growth, committed to quality.
Based on the premise of anything you can do, we can do better in the Bahamas. The Bahamian Brewery is 100% Bahamian owned and operated. Our thanks to you, Bahamas, for supporting our family affairs and beverages. Sands Light, High Rock, Strong Back, Bush Crack, Pink Sands, and Triple B. Brewed and bottled here and consumed right here in our Bahamas. Now that's truly Bahamian. The Bahamian Brewery encourages all of its fans to drink in moderation.
If it moves, chances are Advantage Insurance can insure it. We offer a variety of coverage options for cars, SUVs, trucks, scooters, boats, and more. Our comprehensive auto insurance policy covers loss or damage due to collision, theft, fire, flood, or hurricane. Third-party coverage is also available. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years.
Okay, there's no denying it. Summer is here, and the only thing that can compete with this heat are the weekly specials at Super Value and quality supermarkets.
Distinction evaporated milk, large can, 99 cents. Finami cooked shrimp, 51.60, or Easy Peel, 31.40, $9.99. Hunt's ketchup, 35 ounce, $1.99. Value Time towel, 1 roll, 99 cents. Pick sweet corn and cob, 8 count or mixed veg, 28 ounce, $2.99. And fresh tomatoes, 99 cents per pound.
Hot prices for hot days at Super Value and quality supermarkets.
Be sure to stay cool all year round, especially when those hot summer months roll in. Keep cool with Cool Tech. Located Tony Williams Darling Highway, Cool Tech is your affordable #1 air conditioning center. They install and service everything they sell. That means prompt, reliable service 24/7. Cool Tech, the only way to stay cool with guarantee. Call Cool Tech now at 341-5665.
Transforming institutional investing, empowering Bahamians to save and invest, growing its business to create a strong and stable investment environment for generations to come. That's what CFAL has accomplished in its first 20 years. And that's what Bahamians can expect in the years to come. For at CFAL, we believe our past is a foundation for an even greater future. Call us today or visit cfal.com and seize your future.
Check out Life at Hills West Bay Street opposite Old Fort Bay. 80 by 100 lots starting at $160,000. Triple and townhouse lots at $190,000. Call 362-1214 or 362-1652 now.
It's summer, and Commonwealth Bank wants to know, are you set? Get set for all your summer expenses with a personal loan from Commonwealth Bank. Get cash for summer travel, back to school, whatever you need, with fast approval and great service. Plus, there are weekly cash prizes and a grand prize of $5,000. Get a MasterCard too for everyday expenses. So, get set, get ready, and get over to Commonwealth Bank today.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, heat and cooling water pumps, generators and generators back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them on 242-356-0249.
You know, I'm on board with helping my country, I will do whatever I could to help my country.
Our country has been governed for 44 years by lawyers.
You mentioned about the hospital equipment. Where are the inspectors? How is it that people can sit around and not notice that something needs to be done with the equipment?
Our country has somehow become, Steve,
regardless of the political affiliations one may find themselves. We have been, over the past 2-3 decades, have been questioning the actions of many of these politicians, whether it's FNM or PLP. In essence, too, this is why the phrase was coined, two sides of the same coin, it comes into action. So what I'm saying is simply this: Dr. Minnis and this FNM government cannot just chastise persons, the small fry in the PLP. If I'm not saying that is what they're doing. Henry Dorset, in my humble estimation, is a small fry in this whole affair. There are many other questionable persons that we've been asking questions for many decades on the actions and the inactions that they've been doing.
You've got it made, not a word that anyone can say.
Welcome back live. We're on Hard Copy today. Dame Jones Sawyer is my special guest of interest. We're having a wonderful conversation here this evening. You can join the conversation at about 20 past the hour thereabouts. We've got lots of things that we're talking about here today. Trying to look and see if we can put the nation back on course. And it won't happen in one conversation, I'm sure. It's going to be a series of conversations. But the thing is, we have to begin from somewhere. We've seen that we have a new government in place now. A lot of people saying give them a chance, let them get some things together. They've been in for about 3 months thereabouts now, and they're just working on some things. They've decided that they're going to cut the fat on a number of things that they've been looking at from the past government. They want to cut back on salary increases. They want to make sure that they can stop all that heavy spending. They're trying to impress the people in the international sphere. And these are people from the International Monetary Fund, the IDB, of course, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, those rating agencies, because they hold the keys. If they tell you, you are at junk bond status, this is where you will be. And so the thing is, the government has got to be very prudent, and there's a whole idea of trying to get some things done. One of the Bahamians that I know of who's been talking about it, Paul Moss is one of them, young Bahamian, bright lawyer, he is. And of course, there's also been Robert, this gentleman by the name of Robert Myers, who has been on the business pages of the Tribune in recent times talking about the Organization of Responsible Government, saying things along the lines that maybe what has to happen is that the first act of business for this new government should be that they institute and legalize and make sure, put into legislation this whole idea of what this it's called now, where you want to make sure that just slipped out of my head just now. Let me just find my note on it, because it's a very important situation that has to happen. He's saying that maybe what has to happen is the Fiscal Responsibility Act. That's what I was trying to remember. Fiscal Responsibility Act. That must be the first order of business that has to happen to make sure that there's no more wild spending by any other succeeding government that may come along. This government is saddled with doing that, because this is why we had all that bad spending in the past. If they don't do it, maybe the IMF and those big boys in the international sphere will not be impressed to the point that you all serious or you all ain't serious. And this is what the case is. So what are your thoughts along those lines before we get into this other part? That's a very important key thing, I think.
I don't know what a Fiscal Responsibility Act will contain. I don't know what the contents of that bill would be. But I was shaking my head when you were saying about how they spent widely because there was no law in place.
Yes.
In fact, I tend to disagree with most people who say that, because on my watch, there was always something called the Financial Administration and Audit Act.
That's right. That's right.
And under that act, there are certain steps that must be taken before public spending can.
But they don't pay no attention to that. That is override.
So excuse me, if they don't pay attention to that, which is based on the Constitution.
Yes.
And if they can burn the Constitution under the tree.
Yeah.
And if they don't report when they go abroad and say what they spent the money on, then what do you expect? You think passing an act will change it?
I think a Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Precept upon precept.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That would be another act on top of the Financial Administration and Audit Act. And which one are you going to follow?
Yeah. So we've got to get with it. You see, there's just no discipline, it seems, by us.
There's no self-discipline. And that is one of the things that the same preamble to the Constitution that they put on the air every morning says, we will be governed by Christian values. It also says that we will practice self-discipline.
Self-discipline.
It begins with the individual. Nothing happens without the individual. That's why I said it starts at home.
Yeah.
By the time I was 14, I suppose I could have run my mother's house. But I would have been trained to that from my grandmother used to say, knee high to a grasshopper.
That's right. Been trained.
Nobody had to tell you that Saturday morning you had to get up and scrub the hot floors of the house and get water and tote wood for the fire and everything else.
Did you use turbid skin or did you use sieve wire?
Not to sieve wire. I was on Exuma, I could tell you that. Used to use something called Old Man Beard and Sweet Margaret. They're two shrubs, very low growing. Old Man Beard is very, very scrapey, and it has a beautiful scent.
Wow.
When you finish scrubbing your floors, your wooden floors with that, house smells wonderful.
And the porch,
we have no porch.
The floor inside the house.
The floor inside the house and the kitchen and the barn.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, these are things that we can reminisce about, and we know that they are very important because it made us as people. It made different generations of people. But today we are stuck in this quagmire of trouble when it comes to our young people. A lot of them gone wayward. A lot of them don't have anything to do. The country's not found enough things for them as outlets to do, apart from the little sports things that they may do, non-competitive sports, not professional sports, amateurish kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's fine and that's good. That's something. But we need to have wholesome recreation and wholesome activity, because a lot of our young men and women, for the most part, now getting themselves into trouble, not just mischief, real trouble. trouble with guns, trouble with violence, trouble with crime, trouble with murders, that kind of thing. It has gotten us to such a point today, Dame Jones Sawyer, that people are saying, man, listen, we've had it with this lot. Let's just start popping necks, is how they put it on the streets.
I think somebody said that before, and I said, can you, at the same time that you're saying you want to uphold the law, break the law?
No, you can't. Shouldn't.
As leaders, we must be very careful about what we say. Words once spoken cannot be recalled. And too many of our leaders give the impression that they have the answers for these problems.
Yes.
Their answers are usually silly answers because they are what they think is the quickest method. You cannot solve a human problem that's been developing for over 50 years in 5 minutes.
No.
And you cannot solve it unless you first identify where you went wrong.
Understood.
This is why I said, I don't suggest anybody that we should live in the past. I'm saying you look at the past, examine it, get the lessons from the past, bring it forward by training your people. The important things that we neglected to train our children was, the main thing was who we are as a people. Our children believe they are Haitians, they are Jamaicans, they are Canadians, they are British, they are Yugoslav, they are Russian, they are Chinese, they are everything else except Bahamian. Today is the 183rd anniversary of the Proclamation of Emancipation. 1st of August, 1834. And my people are more enslaved now in their mentality than they were in 1834. In 1833 or thereabouts, I might get the year wrong, don't quote me on that. There's a man called Pompey, Pompey Museum?
Yes.
He's an Exumian. He led 4 slave rebellions in 1 year.
4?
Exuma was always different. And we prided ourselves on that because we didn't follow the crowd. We don't. And you can't follow the crowd and be correct. The crowd isn't always right. It's the individual who must make a difference. And when you have leaders who are trying to be led by Tom, Dick, and Harry, and trying to be hail fellow well met with everybody, you get a mishmash of nothing.
Yeah.
You get an unpalatable gruel. It can't be digested. And that was where the civic society in the Bahamas has come to.
Yeah.
Because leaders have not led.
We need real leadership, dynamic leadership, leadership of strength, people of courage to do things in a meaningful way, to set the example.
And not only that, you need leaders who understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
If you don't understand what the problem is, how are you going to solve it?
So we need to understand what our problem is. What really is our problem? I mean, you've been able to look. You sat there on the bench. You've seen all kinds of things come before you. You've heard it all. I mean, if you were to go and write some notes on it just to say this is part of my life, it will make our head swing. We couldn't carry the burden and stuff that you would have seen every time in your career. I'm saying there's so many things that we can avoid. I know so many things that we don't have to get into all of those difficult circumstances, but we just people of passion, just doing things without even thinking, and a lot of things. And you've seen a lot of people who've come who didn't think what they were doing, it's regrettable, and some people are remorseful and the rest of it. But how do you look at that from a point of view that at the same time, Dame Jones Sawyer, we have this murderous spirit that's upon the land? It seems like we don't know what to do about it, and maybe that's why people are saying we got to hang some people. Maybe that's why Marvin Dames, the new national security minister, has forecasted that this may be the way to go. I don't know if that's to put fair in people. I don't know.
No. I just ask him one question. How are you going to accomplish that, sir, in the light of the law, which says that a man must be tried within a reasonable time?
That's the first thing.
That's the Constitution.
Yeah.
How are you going to accomplish that when you have people being in jail for 3 and 4 years without being tried? And I won't even talk about the ones who were there for 10 without being tried, without even being brought before a magistrate court. Don't blame the system for what you have failed to do. Each one of us has a personal responsibility for what we do. They used to call me workaholic in the legal department. They called me workaholic on the judicial bench. The reason why I worked so hard was because I was so guilty. When I say so guilty, I could not go to bed at nights without trying to figure out how much work I could get done the next day. So you go to bed late, you get up early, and you're working from the time you get up. If you're on vacation, you're still working. My vacation was my time to write judgments.
Wow.
Because we had a small number of judges. We had far less judges than they have now. There were 5 of us when I started. And we got a lot of work done. Because I would sit as a chamber judge in the Supreme Court until 8 o'clock at night.
8 o'clock in the night?
Yeah. To hear a chamber application.
This is after a full day work?
Of course. Like I said, on the Wednesday night, I would stay in my chambers as Chief Justice and do a minimum of 20 applications for
we don't have that kind of
administration of estates and probates and stuff.
But we don't have that kind of commitment today by individuals. And even if we did, I mean, you know, we expect that they're going to do their fair share. But we also expect that the state is going to provide for these things to be adequately administered because there's a whole lot of work to be done.
Well, unless you are prepared to have people who are going to do that, you're not going to get the hanging again. And going to the CCJ, as some of them are trying to do without going through the Constitution.
Caribbean Court of Justice.
Can't help them, because I get the question I said to Minister Harris when I came here was ask the question of them. Did the European Union give the CCJ money to pay the judges for their trust fund? Yes.
Yes.
And did that money come with a stipulation?
Quiet, but you know, nonetheless.
No, I asked the question. I didn't say whether it was or not.
I understand.
I asked. So answer that question, then I'll tell you whether or not CCJ will make a difference.
So we are wasting our time. We're spinning wheels. Is this just a political cartwheel that we're doing again?
Because some people want to be Kofi Annan in the Caribbean. Some people want to be the Secretary General of the United Nations in the Caribbean. We want to be part of a Caribbean thing. I have no difficulty with the concept. My difficulty is how you get there.
How you get there.
I have no problem with me and my Caribbean brothers. In fact, this is an idea I floated with one of my brother judges who's from the Caribbean. I said, when we retire, when we get this money, when we win the lotto, let's buy a boat and I'll bring all the wood, you know, those nice furniture they make in Belize and Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. I'll bring them to the Bahamas and we'll open a market with these things. And we'll be a center for people to come and buy, and all our people will profit. Is that an entrepreneurial thing?
It's very, very, very entrepreneurial.
But has anybody gone down that road?
No, they haven't.
There are lots of things that the Caribbean produce that we use, but they come through the U.S.
Yeah.
So you add duty, you add price to what comes. We have no direct shipping. We are a shipping center, but we have no direct shipping with Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados. If I go into Barbados, I got to go to Miami, then fly over to Bahamas and go to Barbados.
My Lord. You know, this is, I suppose, one of the things that the new prime minister is looking at. Maritime, that kind of thing, the shipping lanes, the kind of thing with the air traffic and all that kind of stuff. These are good things to pursue. I don't know if they're achievable in the immediate short term. I mean, in the immediate short term. Perhaps this is something long term, but the point is something has to happen and something has got to be done, and we've got to start from somewhere. I was looking at this capital punishment thing from a point of view to get a real good perspective on it as to whether or not this is just something that perhaps is in the works. People are talking about it now, or the new government is talking about it because it sounds fanciful to talk about it. It may attract some people that, yeah, we're doing some things, but we shouldn't be making promises based upon that we can't keep. That's the bottom line. And you asked a pertinent question. How is it going to happen if you can't get fellas down to court to even be arraigned on even bail hearings or whatever it is that they need to be arraigned on? If that can be happening in a timely way now, how are you going to ever even get to talking about we can have timely reviews of these kinds of things or timely cases heard before the courts in a reasonable time?
Exactly. And there's persons, everybody charged with a murder offense will have an automatic right, if they're convicted, to go to the Privy Council eventually. If the Court of Appeal turn it down, they go to the Privy Council.
Under the way things are now.
Under the Constitution.
Yeah. What's all this talk then, Dame Jones Sawyer, about how people have said that? Well, the Privy Council has said that, that all our parliamentarians have to do is go down to the Parliament and define what is the worst of the worst and this kind of thing. And once that happens, you can have leave to go and hang people and the rest of it.
That would be one I would go on and on about that. Actually, I blame myself for that. In the sense that because when Mr. Fitzgerald came to the Court of Appeal in 2004, thereabouts, I think it was, or 2005. He was making this application. He'd gone to the Privy Council and made an application to the Privy Council, a second application to Privy Council. But in the second application to the Privy Council, he had applied for them to determine the constitutionality of the mandatory death penalty. Because we used to automatically pass the death penalty once you convicted of murder, because it had to be 12-0 for that.
Understood.
And that was because the Privy Council itself had confirmed in 1995 that that is what we must do. Okay? Now, the Privy Council decision in 1995 was binding on all lower courts, including the Court of Appeal, of which I was the president.
I see.
So I could not undo what the Privy Council had done. The Constitution itself provided that where a question of the constitutionality of something arises in any court other than the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal, it must be sent to the Supreme Court. The Privy Council ought to have sent that question to the Supreme Court,
I see,
rather than to us. Because what should have happened was that all the research necessary on the death penalty and what had happened would have come from the factual basis for discussing it would have been laid. No factual base was ever laid. In fact, what happened is the Privy Council sent it to us. We say we don't have any jurisdiction to overturn what you did in 1995. And they say, what we did in 95 wasn't that.
Do you think this was deliberate? That
I'm sure it was, by the lawyers involved, not necessarily the judges. But the judges weren't astute enough to appreciate that they ought to have read the Constitution for themselves. If they'd read it, they would have realized that the mandatory death penalty was preserved in the Constitution of 1973 by the constitutions of 1963 and 1969 and brought forward into 1973. Simple. But I blame myself for not letting them pontificate before me and pretend that I was, some wise person, I didn't have the wisdom I now have, but I don't shirk my responsibility for that,
So what could actually happen in our present circumstances now that you've explained that, and I do understand understand a little bit better, but nothing really can happen at all
unless you can get cases heard in a timely manner.
You think that's a real big challenge?
Very big challenge.
But how so? I mean,
Kofi Goodman was convicted of killing the 11-year-old boy.
Yes.
And he was sent back for retrial. He's been retried. He hasn't been sentenced yet. That's how many years?
That's about 5 years, 4 years.
Going pretty close to 4 years, if not 5.
That's right. That is correct.
Just take one. I'm not discussing the case, just pointing out a factual
situation. I see that thing, yeah. Well, I don't know. So that means that, you always talked about there's always another alternative. There are people who get 18 to 35 years.
We gave a fellow, I think, 50 years or something like that. The one who shot the young boy in Fox Hill.
Yes.
He was Watson. We gave him, I think, 50 years or so. And we weren't loath to give him 60 if we thought it was necessary. When they come out to be too old to do anything.
Yeah. So that is the best alternative that is there now, other than any kind of capital punishment, because you've got to look at it to the letter of the law.
You not only letter, the spirit of the law is that a man is entitled to a speedy trial. The other thing is that they keep saying capital punishment. Capital punishment never stopped the bulk of killings, There's never a deterrent to the bulk of killings, because the bulk of killings are usually what do you call it? The triangle, the lover's triangle.
Yeah.
A lot of the killings are that. Jealousy and whatnot. In which case, provocation, diminished responsibility, all those other kinds of
They come
partial
into play.
defenses come into play.
Yeah, diminished responsibility and all
Just
that.
that, yeah.
Yeah, come into play.
And then insanity as well.
Mhm,
Remember the Hannah boy who with his
Yes.
parents, his family.
Yes, I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember that case.
Could you hang him?
I was writing a book on that at one point.
You should continue to write it.
Kevin Hanna.
Yeah, and he's still alive.
Yes, he was in Fox Hill for a whole
He's
long
still
time.
he's still
He's
there.
still in Fox Hill,
He cannot be released.
and that was about
He's
he
just-
was about 17 at the time.
He was off age.
Yeah.
Because he was convicted of murder.
Right.
Guilty but insane.
Yeah, but they found them
But-
with diminished responsibility.
No, he didn't get manslaughter.
Hmm.
Did he? I thought he got
I thought the final thing was that. Well, I know the plea. The
no,
judge was,
I know. Check the
Yeah.
record because I might be remembering it.
Yeah,
misremembering.
They were saying it was the minute he was diminished responsibility. That's how they looked at his whole thing. That he just
No, because he is a psychopath.
Hmm.
A psychopath is not diminished responsibility. That's insanity.
Insanity.
And when it's insanity, the law was, at least when last I looked, you find them guilty but insane. So he can't be released. You remember the fella Darling? The case of Darling? You were too young to know about the case.
You're talking about Darling, the fellow who, the beauty queen who murdered the, was it Desiree Cox? Was that the Darling? Wasn't that the Darling case?
No. This Darling, he would have killed somebody before independence.
Hmm.
And he and the two girls who drowned the girl in Foxhill Creek was sent to England to Broadmoor for the criminal assault.
Yes.
He was sent back home, and they were sent back home after independence. And I think I saw him before he died in Foxhill. When I went to visit in 1994, and he was stark naked, stark staring mad. They couldn't get clothes on him. It was insane.
Wow.
They cannot be released into society. I don't know whether they are what the Bible would call demon possessed, in which case they'd have to be exorcised by somebody who's an exorcist. But they definitely are not capable of normal.
So what are we seeing here, Dave Jones Sawyer, in our
seeing-
country? I mean, what are we? I mean, there's such a proliferation of murder.
Not only that, there's so many factors. A lot of the killings that you notice are of people who are wearing the police persons who kill the people wearing ankle bracelets.
Yes.
Who are out on bail.
Yes.
So the Tribune once wrote the editor of the Tribune once wrote an editorial. I was trying to remember where I found it, bring it for you, but I couldn't find it in time. And she said, well, some people may not believe in the death penalty, but the criminals do. Because what they're doing is killing those who are accused of killing their friends or their compatriots.
They're executing people.
They're executing.
Vigilante justice is on the
Vigilante.
rise.
And I warned Ingram government in 1997.
And again, in 2008, I thought you were warning, and I saw you talk about vigilante justice that's been happening.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Because they said I was on a limb. Like you say, they call me a fanatic. I'm not a fanatic. I am just a realist. I realize that if you don't do certain things about certain things, if you don't nip a problem in the bud, it will blossom out of your control.
Back in 2008, there's an article there where you talked about, you said the death penalty, the death sentence in the Bahamas is discretionary rather than mandatory.
That's following the Privy Council. It said that.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
It wasn't me. I have to follow what they say. I'm a privy councillor, but I'm not the one who decides.
Understood.
I couldn't decide for myself. You know?
So we are in a quandary, aren't we? Oh boy, the lines are all lit up. I didn't even see that. The lines of people are calling through. I did promise at 20 past the hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get those calls now. But this whole thing about I was starting to ask you about this whole bit about what's in our heads. I mean, is there a different breed that we have? What is happening? We never listen. When I was a boy and a man was killed, we talked about that for quite a number of years.
If you had one murder trial a year, you had plenty.
That's the point what I'm making. I mean, there's something happening.
But you realize
you mentioned demonic spirit the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, just recently. I'm wondering if there's something more that has happened within our people.
Well, it could be
that we are out of control, because it's like nothing to pick up a gun or something and kill somebody.
And they say the first one is difficult, the second one not too difficult, the third one is like drinking water.
And there's a young man charged with triple murder today in the newspapers at 18 years old.
I saw it.
Let me take some calls. I wanted to talk forever, but anyway, I'm going to take some calls. Thank you so much. Hi, Copy. How you doing? Welcome. Jones Sawyer is on with me. How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. McKinney?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Sparky here,
Mm-hmm.
and your beautiful guest. Good evening, madam.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
You know, Mr. McKinney, I wanted to say something. I was holding so long, but I didn't want to let go because I wanted to speak to your guest this evening in regards to some things she mentioned about our leaders. Madam, you know, I think over the years, my 66 years on this earth, and watching the change in my country and the change in our different leaders and what they stood for, I think our last bunch of leaders that we had think that they are gods. I know a lot of them, and I grew up and went to school with a lot of them. I went to the same churches with a lot of them when we served down the altar of St. George's Church and St. Matthew's Church. And different churches, you know, Seventh Adventist Church where I visited because I lived in the Valley area. And these same gentlemen that have risen to the top of the mountain, what we call in the Bahamas, who lead us, I have seen the difference in their youthful life to what they have become. They have become all-powerful, where they have believed, I think that they believe that they are gods, that we must worship them rather than worship the Son of God. I even see the same changes in some of our religious leaders, some of our social leaders, where money and big house and fancy cars and private jets has become the order of the day or the goal to what they are seeking. And they have forgotten that beautiful day in 1973, July the 10th, when we stood on the Western Fort, when most of us Bahamians, not Jamaican Bahamian or Haitian Bahamian or American Bahamian or English Bahamian, Canadian Bahamian, but Bahamians were so proud that we have finally reached that stage where we thought we were independent and was going to move this country forward. I believe in the earlier days of independence, we started off on a great foot. We were proud. We were happy. The straw vendors on Bay Street were smiling. The taxi drivers were dressed. The waiters in the hotels were immaculate, and they have wore gloves. And when we went to nightclubs to dance and party, we went with suits and shine shoes and everything. Now we go to these places looking like hogs. We care nothing about the Bahamas no more. All we want is money. And we're killing for money. And we have gone to a point where I hear people say we got to get back to the good old days. Madam,
no.
I asked them if they really want to get back to the good old days. Why they complaining about BEC cutting off the light? In the good old days, we didn't have electricity. We had kerosene light and candles. We didn't have cars. We had, maybe some of us had bicycles. When mosquitoes came round at night, our mothers used to fan us with old newspapers on piece of cardboard if they want to go back to the good old days. But we've gone so far now because my speech is we follow the world. We follow a corrupt world where everything is power, might, and greed for finances. Look at all the leading countries in the world. You think they really care about the amount of people starving in Africa? The amount of people starving in the Caribbean, in Haiti and so forth? They really don't care. They don't care about the hurricanes when they blow down everybody else and everything. They care about what they got on Wall Street.
We got you, Sparky.
They care about money. The love of money, madam. I think you quote the Bible sometimes. Money is not evil.
No, this is the love of
money.
That is evil, yes.
That is evil.
Yes.
And our leaders, look at them. Everyone, the last one, he wanted more outriders and more security guards.
Well, you know, more security.
Outrider wasn't enough. He wanted two. He
Sir,
wanted a new car.
Yeah.
He wanted more security guards. Whoever in this country want to kill or harm our prime minister? Any one of them, from Mr. Penland to the new one now. When our prime minister could go down the middle of Bay Street and jump up and down and shake cowbell and dance, shouting with us. If he wanted to kill a prime minister, he could have get killed a long time. Nobody want to harm nobody. They don't even need a security guard.
I appreciate.
And they walking around with guns underneath there.
I appreciate what you're saying, Sparky. And I know that you're loaded. You've got a lot that you want to say.
I know.
There, but,
I agree with him. I could hear the passion in his voice.
Yeah, he's tired. He's tired of all the nonsense
like
that's
how I am tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired of nonsense.
You do get to that point.
But then I say, Lord, what is it that you would have me to do?
Yeah.
And what he had me to do was to first speak in the referendum and then to speak during the lead up to the election. And I said, I will continue to speak.
Yeah.
And as long as the governments don't follow the law, I will not be silent anymore because I'm no longer eligible to sit on the Privy Council. So I'm free to speak now.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good thing because you are rich with the information and you're respected. And I think that you ought to be speaking so that you can help to lead where we are. You don't have to be in politics to lead. You can lead from where you are by making sure that you can put your complexion on this nation. That's a very important thing.
My thing is to lead this nation. The main thing I would like this nation to do is to remember who is in charge. The world and all that is in it, the universe and all that is in it, belongs first of all to God. Unless you get the vertical straight, you will never get the horizontal straight.
No question about it.
So I start in the homes, which is where the first church I attended was my grandparents' home.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to pray at their knees. I learned about God from them, not in an organized church. When I went to church, I knew I was going to God's house.
Right.
And I knew I had to behave and how I had to behave. Because my grandmother was sitting in the back, and if I turned around, she would know and I would get in trouble when I get home.
No question about it.
So you learned from your mother, from your parents, how to behave.
We got to get back there. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Mr. McGinney.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, reconcile. Good evening, Dame Jones Sawyer.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I am fine, thanks. It's a great pleasure and a privilege to hear you on the hard copy this evening. You know, Mr. McKinney, I'm very, very concerned about our state of affairs in this country with regard to crime, and in particular murder. As you know, I am a strong proponent of capital punishment. When I was one of the board of directors of Prison Fellowship Bahamas in 1995, a group of us went to Washington, D.C. at the Prison Fellowship International Triennial Conference. And I did a speech on capital punishment. I prepared and I did it. And I still love it today. Even the ink written copy is yellow, non-all torn up, but I also have the ones that I got copied on the copy. But having said that, Mr. McKinney, 83 murders. One young man charged with 3 murders. All right, 18 years old. That is an indictment on our country. And I'm looking at successive governments. And Mr. McKinney, I believe that this law must be amended. This waste of the waste foolishness has to be thrown out of into the garbage can. And we need to amend the law. And I'm going to ask you and Sawyer when I hang up, before I hang up rather, about something in regard to that. But, you know, I will say this also, Mr. McKinney. We as the people, the politicians, need to have the political will to deal with this capital punishment issue and stop hiding behind these kinds of the waste and these kind of things, because it's only politicking. So we have murder, and I don't believe that capital punishment is merely as a deterrent. I believe that it is for punishment for a murder that you've committed. A mandate of God, which is that in Numbers chapter 35 and 34, that if the murderer shall be removed from the land, the blood that he shed, that there be not a curse on the land, in Numbers chapter 35. But he must go before witnesses. We have a rare, hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
A qualified, distinguished jurist like James Sawyer, who can, prove that, who can quantify that before 2 or 3 witnesses. That's the matter. Once that has happened, they've been convicted. The law must take its course. The government must remove the slackness out of the system that is holding up these cases, that these people be brought to justice. I don't care if they're black, white, pink, yellow, or blue, that they must, suffer the consequences for their sins. God gave life. Man don't give life. And I have these guys guys, when they go up there, commit murder, they brag it out when they shoot. The one out there was veteran and how they was shaking, and they make sport of that. And they eating 3 meals, so they have no bills to pay. And bragging, man, them guys gonna hang. Okay, now doing them Sawyer. This waste of the waste, or the Bahamas Supreme Court, could the government make amendments to the Constitution or to the law of the Bahamas that the Bahamas Supreme Court could be the final court and capital punishment could be judged, done expeditiously in the Bahamas Supreme Court? I thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you, sir, for the question. As a lawyer, speaking strictly as on a legal aspect of it first, it's possible for the Constitution to be amended to remove the Privy Council as your final court of appeal. But that would require a 3/4 majority of both houses of Parliament, followed by a referendum. And we just came out of 3 referendums in less than 20 years, and with very negative results. Because what has happened is nobody has educated the Bahamian public as to the contents of the Constitution. And this is why we're in the doldrums we're in, because people yelling about their constitutional rights. For instance, if I might digress for a minute, you remember Mr. Ismerlian made the call, called the then Prime Minister, said he was out of his mind, or he's behaving like he was out of his mind. And then the then Minister of Foreign Affairs said, I'll revoke his residency permit.
Exactly.
I mean, he's saying the man has no freedom of expression. Every person in the Bahamas has a right to freedom of expression unless they defame somebody or whatever. But they didn't. But nobody reprimanded him for that.
Yes.
You see, it's that, like the first caller said, that they think of this, or he said they think of themselves as gods. They feel like they could say what they like and do what they like to everybody. Well, they know it's about me every time since I was made a judge. When I became Chief Justice, they used to call me. They said I didn't even have the brain to do the job. I didn't have the intellectual acuity, to quote them exactly. I like to laugh at them because the Lord sees them. And I said that every idle word they use to badmouth me, out of their mouth into God's ears. And this is one of the reasons why they're paying the price they now are paying. Exactly. And if they don't reform, they don't repent and reform themselves, they will never see Parliament again.
So this young man by the name of Chester Cooper, who had advocated that,
repentance.
Repent.
He's an exhumer.
Yeah, that's true. Exhumer. Yeah, that's the spirit of exhumer. He repent. But they ignored him.
No, they badmouth him. Picewell Forbes, of all people, says, well, we could have a little contrition, but we don't have to repent. What is the difference between contrition and repentance? And he's a journalist.
Yes.
He should know the language.
Yeah. He said on this show.
And he should shut up because he ought to have been in jail for when he interfered in the Pleasant Bridgewater case. That was obstruction of justice. That's a criminal offense. Yeah. But the judge gave him a slap on the wrist. When you have that inequality of administration of justice, why do you think the people take the law into their own hands?
Well, Wayne Monroe these days talking about a number of people who he says that FNMs, he's saying that the police should be interested in some things that he wants to pass on to them. But he's on the other hand, he's saying that he want to do it, that he want to pass it on to them, but he don't really trust them. This new criminal, what's it called? New corruption unit.
Mr. Monroe has been a great disappointment to me personally.
Is that right?
Yeah, he worked with me. He was very cooperative when I was Chief Justice and President of the Court of Appeal. To get the computerization up, he was willing to be the piggy, what they call guinea pig for us to try out certain things.
Right. Yes.
And so his law firm really cooperated with me. So I got a lot of work done because of the cooperation of himself and others like him. So when he changed his tune in the referendum and when he said what he said in the lead up to the election, I was really disappointed. You can't cut off your love, but that don't mean you approve the behavior.
Yeah.
And so I can't approve his behavior.
Yeah. So this whole thing that he's going on with now, have you seen it?
I have not seen it. And
I said in the newspapers, and the press has been pushing him to say, well, say who these people are.
No, the point is, I told them basically, I don't care which side of the political fence they're on. As far as I'm concerned, they're all human beings with feet of clay.
Yes.
They all have warts. I have plenty of my own. But I go to God and I repent and I try to undo the wrong I've done.
Yes.
As far as I'm able to. But these are people who are saying we didn't do any wrong. That is what is angering people. If you say you haven't done any wrong, You're saying sin is not sin, and so you don't have to repent, so you don't have to change. So when you come back, you do the same thing.
Yeah. And people have dismissed them because they've been saying that.
Well, of course.
And they are now in a quandary because, there are some of them who understand that they need to repent and perhaps have gone individually to repent, but as an organization, there's no repentance and there's nothing to look at as far as reform is concerned.
If they're not careful, they will go the way of the UBP.
Well, I said this on the show.
You said it too?
I said this. That's the first thing I came back with. I said, ladies and gentlemen, for all intent and purposes, as Jeffrey Johnstone told them at the Garfunkel Auditorium, based on the story that Nikki Kelly wrote way back then, the day of the Tribune, says, so gentlemen, say for all intent and purposes, the UBP is dead. So we've got to find somebody else, a new organization that look like them, talk like them, walk like them, meaning us, the majority of people, but who listen to us.
Exactly.
He says, but this thing that we call the UBP, this a finished deal.
A finished deal.
Dealey wrote the note on this.
Dealey wrote the note for the simple reason that you have annoyed too many people. You have destroyed too many people's lives. You have ignored good advice. You have done everything wrong, and yet you expect us to trust you?
Shouldn't this apology, though, Dame Jones Sawyer, come from none other than Perry Gladstone Christie, who was the leader of the flock? I mean, maybe if he...
remember, don't forget now, I said that I told them before the election that they should repent.
Yes, you did.
And I said, if they repented, they might have still won.
You said that. You said that. I remember that. I have a sound bite with that. You did say that.
And I'm saying, these things don't always come from me personally. They're not necessarily things I think of before I speak.
That's the Lord speaking.
Sometimes he uses donkeys like me to deliver a message.
You did say
the message was repent.
Yeah.
And I still have to tell the nation to repent, because it is all leaders are only representative of us.
Yes.
The bad we see in them is what is in our people.
We're a reflection of the society.
They're a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Because our people looking for handouts. And whoever give them handouts, they give them the vote.
Yeah, they go on with them.
They go on with them. Yeah. No matter how bad they are, no matter how wicked they are.
Yeah.
We have to change that approach.
We have a real uphill battle,
serious
because
battle.
we need to find people who are of a godly nature, my friend. I mean,
We have to
even though people say that don't mix with politics, they got to be joking. We got to have people here who want to do the right thing and always do the honest thing.
Exactly. Because you know how difficult it is. I told them, they said, well, the English judges, you say, you go to work, you could go home half day. I said, really? They thought because the Bahamas was this halcyon place thing,
Right.
I could go home half day and I have no work. I said, when they came here and saw the work,
Yeah.
they said, well, you get more interesting cases than we get in London.
Let me take some more calls here on the telephone line. Hard copy, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks.
This evening.
Very good, sir.
Good afternoon, Dame Jones Sawyer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. It's a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. First of all, I'd like to thank you personally for your contribution to the Bahamas, especially in the past few years, even though you were now a private citizen. I have a few questions I'd like to ask. And the first question I'd like to ask is, the past Attorney General, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I feel that she had prostituted Lady Justice and just disregarded law and on the whole. How would you rate her performance as an Attorney General?
What is the scale?
Well, how
1 to 10?
1 to 10 or 1 to 100?
However,
1 to 10 or 1 to 100?
Or a judge or in the legal profession, but you being a knowledgeable person, how would you perform as Attorney General?
I didn't think her performance as Attorney General was at all what it should be. If I were grading her, I would give her a -5.
Come on, scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10, yes.
-5.
-5?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, wow. And another question.
Ouch.
The two former MPs that have just been brought before the courts.
I can't comment on the
We can't
case.
speak with that.
How was it that they were able to get Supreme Court bail so quickly? And I mean, like,
Well, they amended the act, I think, in 2010 or 2011, so that the magistrates no longer able to give bail in certain
That's
cases,
correct.
so they can go to the Supreme Court. And I think once the person has been charged with those offenses, what their lawyer probably do is put in an application to the
Right
Supreme
away.
Court that right away as soon as they're arrested,
Mhm.
and just fill in the date when once they're charged. You see, so they could go
Okay,
from
well,
one
my
court
last
to the
thing, because
other.
I know a lot of people would like to speak with you.
Mm.
Dame Jones Sawyer, how would you like the Bahamian people, or how would you like to be remembered in the future when people mention Dame Jones Sawyer and her contribution to the Bahamas?
I don't. Okay.
Ms. McKinney, thank you for your time. You need to bring her back. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
kindly.
I don't really wish to be remembered at all, except as a sinner who repented.
Wow. A sinner who repented. Notwithstanding all the wonderful, sterling examples of great things that you have done.
A repentant sinner. Remember the fellow on the cross? Lord, when you enter into your kingdom, remember me?
Yeah.
Stole paradise.
Wow. Hard copy, how are you?
McKinney, good evening. Good evening to you.
Thank you. All is well. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful.
McKinney, I've always been interested in politics, internationally and locally, probably about 28 years. There's another name that a lot of people are not bringing up in all of this whole quagmire as opposed to leadership. The former leader of the FNM.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes, if you remember leading up to the last FNM election, he came out of the shadows and he had a lot to say.
You mean this recent election just now?
Well,
the
when
10th of May.
FNM was vying for the leader when Mr. Minnis
and Roberta Butler Turner.
Yeah.
Roberta Butler Turner and Mr. Ingram was really, it was hard to tell whether or not he was supporting Mr. Minnis at the time. It's very hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
It was also, he was playing, seems as if he's playing the deck of cards. I was going against Mr. Minnis at the time. That's my personal view.
Well, yeah. Well, a lot of people expressed that view to me.
Even if Mr. Minnis win during the leadership, there's still more persons in the FNM that could decide what they want moving forward. And right after that, the 7 did what they had to do.
Yeah, we hear you, but what is your point?
Interesting what role he played and still playing from the shadows.
Oh, you saying he's still playing a role?
You want to know our impression
playing a role
of?
Because when Mr. Minnis came into office, the first thing he said, "Don't touch Bahama."
Yeah, you want to know what influence he still has. So hold on a second. Go ahead.
We really got to pay a close attention to where the snake is and who the snake is in this grass.
I hear you. You solicited a comment from that, right? That's why you said it.
Okay.
I'm listening. So you finished because I want to. We have many calls here.
Yes, and like I'm saying, then we also have to try to understand when persons come into leadership, like now Mr. Minnis now is the Prime Minister. Is he really be influenced from
Is he his own man?
Behind closed doors?
Is he his own man? Is what you're saying?
Is he his own man? Because time is going to tell. Because I believe Mr. Diagolo, and you got Mr. Dames, and you got Jeff Lloyd, and those other men. I believe they're going to decide with the people if Mr. Minnis don't do what he say.
I hear you. I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Minnis is still in fixers between as to where people see him at this time. And then there's also this gentleman who now is suggesting that is there something else behind the throne, some other power that's leading
what I found interesting about Mr. Ingram and these following the referendum and the lead up to the election and after the election, the May 10th election this year, was that Mr. Ingram said last year or just before the PLP convention that Mr. Christie was the right man to lead the PLP.
Yes, he did.
I found that strange because how do you reach over to somebody else's household and say what is what?
But don't forget where he came from.
I don't care. You say your loyalty is here.
Yeah.
So stay here. You can't have a foot in both camps. You can't straddle the fence. You have to decide where you belong.
Yeah. Well, he did say that. He did say that.
He did say that, and I questioned him then. I also saw where he said just before the election, he hadn't been saying anything, but a couple of weeks before the election, he got up and talked about what the thing should be and all the rest of it. And he was very powerful and saying how money was somebody had the hand until, and the 900 missing from
the Prime Minister's office
and all that.
Ministry of Finance.
And then Ministry of Finance. And then after the election, the first thing he does is says, nobody should go to jail. because the election is enough punishment. Well, I'll be.
He said that, you know.
I know,
People
and I
missed that.
couldn't
We didn't
believe it.
talk about it much on the radio,
I
but
couldn't believe it. I said, how could a man
Mhm.
who claims that he is plain speaking, he means what he says, how could he say that? Because if you find there's evidence that a former prime minister stole money or had money siphoned off to his account, and he doesn't go to jail, how can you then arrest anybody for stealing?
yeah, leave everybody alone.
You've said this. You've set the standard.
Yeah, you set the standard. Well,
how can you expect to run a country based on that kind of attitude?
Yeah. A lot of people don't remember, don't recall, but it was in the papers. I saw this was at the Rotary thing, and he talked about that.
I keep them.
Yeah.
I keep all the
Nobody should
newspapers.
go to jail.
Nobody should go to jail.
There's enough punishment. He suggested that there's enough punishment that they lost the election. That's
No.
He says that's the way that Bahamian people punish you.
No,
They vote
that's
you
the way
out.
he says be punished. That is not what we say.
It's not the legal way.
We want them to go to jail if there's evidence
Mhm.
and a judge or magistrate convicts them or the jury.
Mhm.
Let them go to jail.
Why is it
because
important?
it's important that they be seen to be not above the law. Because the gentleman who spoke before said they thought they were gods.
Yes.
They need to be understanding that they are mere mortals,
Mhm.
and they are not above the law.
Mhm.
No
So
one is
all
above
this
the law.
thing about the way that Bray Davis has been terminating using the
Witch hunt and stuff.
witch hunt, and Bradley Roberts has been saying that thing.
Bradley Roberts should shut up.
They're spinning a narrative to the point where it's in people's head now that
No.
minister
Tell them that they can't. They're not spin doctors. Their best spin doctor was the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he can't spin much anymore.
Hmm.
There are people who can think, despite of what they think,
Mhm.
and we are not buying it. And I'm not speaking just for myself.
Mhm.
I'm speaking for a lot of people who they think don't have a brain between their ears,
Mhm.
and if they don't shut up, they will find themselves in some situations that they will regret.
Wow.
God is not mocked. He is not mocked. I said that when Alison Maynard Gibson told the Court of Appeal a lie about me in 1983. The Commission of Inquiry case. I said, God is not mocked. She was representing her uncle and Mickey Isaacs.
Mhm.
And I was representing the Commission of Inquiry. And the Court of Appeal ruled as I suggested they should rule. They overturned judges who ruled in their favor, wrongly ruled. I have seen things, and that's why I said people to me are very important, because each person to me is made in the image and likeness of God. This is why I think their lives are sacred. And so I can't really just say I'm going to hang anybody, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get him. If I get angry, I might throw something, but I can't go down that road to kill.
Mhm.
Although I could kill if I get angry enough.
Mhm. Mhm.
But my people have forgotten that every person is valuable simply because they're human beings.
Yes.
And we have written people off, and we have no right to write off anybody.
Hmm.
We got to start with ourselves.
Does it make you suspicious, Dame Sawyer, that there are leaders among us, political leaders, and even church leaders,
in particular,
who are somehow believing that nothing should happen in these investigations that are now ongoing by the corruption unit? Is there something? I mean, why
something is seriously wrong in this country? And I would say it started with this. Not started, it was always there. The spirit of piracy, I call it, alive and well in the Bahamas. But more than that, there is in the churches themselves, there is this greed for money, and success, and office, and title, and wearing certain robes, and putting on airs, and calling themselves titles which they would not normally get.
Yeah, all kinds of bishops,
all kinds of people. You don't hear me going around calling myself the Right Honorable Dame so and so.
No.
Why should I? I'm just Jones Sawyer. That's who I am. And when I go to God, if he receives me, I'll be glad if he calls me Joan.
Well, listen, you touched something. We got lots of calls. We're going to get them. Just hang tight. Listen to this. You touched something earlier that has now become very, very relevant and before the people's court as far as the many men of God, the churches who've come under scrutiny on this new act that they have instituted, this whole thing about the registrar general making sure that you all report your accounting. Where's your money? Where's your transparency? And this is a requirement now through the Attorney General's office that this must happen. And here it is now that the churches are they're upset. They are upset, and they're saying they have better stop talking fool and leave that alone.
And they're
Some
saying
people have
that
said
they that you can't go against the church of God because what our Lord said, the gates of hell shall not prevail against the church. Are they the church?
That's a good question.
Are they the church? Are they the church? Jesus, because Jesus, if I remember, said, foxes have holes there, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.
Wow.
And he said, do not lay up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and rust corrupt and thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where moth and rust cannot corrupt and thieves can't break through and steal. And your life does not consist in the abundance of things.
That's
they think I don't read the Bible, but I've been reading the Bible for years and years, cover to cover, and I listen to every bit of sensible discussion on what they means from all sources.
So
that's where I spend most of my time.
So here it is now. The state is correct in their approach to this.
I don't know if they're correct or not.
But I'm trying to determine that because
I said I can judge them. I can judge them. If they bring me, if somebody brought me a case and showed me what the facts are, and showed me what the law is, and they tell me, well, does this equate with the Constitution? Then I may give them a decision. But I have no sympathy for the church.
Wow.
And I'm a great believer in the church that Jesus founded.
Yeah.
Not the church these men find. You see, because I keep telling them, the church I belong to was bought by Jesus's blood.
Yes.
These denominations are man-made.
That's right. Hard copy, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. McKinney. Good evening, Ms. Sawyer.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Thank God for life as usual, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. McKinney, I wanted to find out from Dame Jones Sawyer. I asked her before on the talk show about, at least she mentioned that what was going on with the former Minister of Education, Jerome Fitzgerald, was reaching on the Prevention of Bribery Act.
Yes.
The Commissioner of Police or the police force to intervene at that time.
They couldn't without the Attorney General's input. And the Attorney General was who?
Alison Maynard.
Exactly.
So my question
their head was in the same. Their heads were in the same basket.
Is it too late now to investigate or to call him in as a former cabinet minister?
No, I don't know. I haven't checked to see whether there's a limitation period on those provisions. Is that right?
Yes.
If the limitation time has passed, you can't do anything about it now. You see.
Hey, tell me something.
He would have gotten away with
what's
it.
your opinion on if you?
But we got to check that.
We got to check that.
To expect or for like the Commissioner of Police to either be transferred or fired or moved from his position, knowing that a person so they're saying that he's either supposed to be transferred. I mean, knowing that he was the commissioner for the last 5 years, only so much the Commissioner of Police could do. But I'm asking you, as a former justice, if you think his actions as the leader of the police force is deserving to be removed, or they should just allow him to do his job. And the word congenital liar, I believe I first hear that from you. And if there's anything I remember, Alison Maynard Gibson, for the former Attorney General, is the word congenital liar. Can you really break that down so I can understand it?
A person born, they were born with that.
I appreciate your call, Papa. Thank you. Go ahead.
No, he said so much. I tried to.
He talked about the Commissioner of Police. I mean,
where they should be moved. He asked about my experience with him. I don't have any experience with the commissioner as such, other than the one time when I spoke to him about the remarch thing.
Right.
Earlier this year. As far as I know, he's a decent man. I don't know anything untoward about him. He may have been hamstrung by the people who were above him.
Yes.
I don't know. But what I did object to, and if you recall, when I was asked on another show about whether or not I would accept Governor General position, and I tell them, I ain't know about that. The Lord ain't sent me here for that. I said that they have politicized positions that ought to be independent.
Understood.
Governor General is one of them, so is Commissioner of Police. They ought to be independent, and they should not be changed because the government changes. This is not the United States of America, where when the president changes, everybody is swept out.
There's certain things that are
we have continuity in our system because we follow the Westminster system.
Yes.
Because if you were following the American system, when Mr. Minnis came to power, there would have been no money for him to pay anything. The treasury would have shut down, basically.
Yes.
You see?
Yes. So what about this whole thing about this congenital liar thing?
To me, a congenital liar is a person who, when faced with the truth, will not tell the truth. She knew the truth, but she would not tell it. And she then turns around and says that the lie is the truth.
So she believed her own propaganda.
She's like Hitler, who believed his own propaganda and the thing. And she does act like Hitler, I can tell you that.
I'd copy. I'd copy. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
And good evening, Honor, Lady Dame.
Just Jones
I
Sawyer.
am so happy to hear your voice. This is your son. I'm gonna make myself your son too. I ain't fool. This is your son Amos. I am agreeing with everything you have said today. I would love for you to speak to this issue. Now that the Bahamian individual citizens have personally articulated the aggression, the oppression, the suppression that has transpired, depression that has transpired against them by the hand of their government, in my humble opinion, for the last 44 years, pertaining and as it relates fundamentally and primarily as because of the truth of the natural resources that the citizens never was told anything about, at least from 1973. In my humble submission, I put it to the Bahamas government today with such glorious honor, honorable lady and lady of Almighty God. Number one, I confess Jesus Christ as Lord of my life too. Number two, they must pay for the oppression that have been meted on the Bahamian people who stood up against them for the aggression they would have brought against the people fundamentally because they refused to bring the honest integrity and truth to the Bahamian people pertaining to such wealth that the S-U-N sun creates.
Okay, all right. He's talking about the wealth. He's talking about the aragonite, the things that we
the natural resources.
People saying that we should have had more focus on that post the election, and that should be the war cry now of the future development of the Bahamas. I suppose that's where his question is somewhere in there. Your viewpoints.
My view. That's what one of the things I mentioned earlier. Remember the
I know you did.
And stuff and other natural resources. If there's oil there, how about exploring that? And exploiting it. But you don't want greedy people handling your wealth. And the set in power now are more trustworthy than the ones who went out. Are they going to be more open and more accountable to you than the previous
We
ones?
certainly hope so. The
We
people
hope so,
are
but
counting on
we
that.
can only we can only be ensured that we keep praying and stuff. But with regard to making them pay for their oppression of us in the past, God is going to pay them back and even if they repent, they will have to still make reparations. But God is going to pay them back because, God does not like oppression of the poor.
Well, we're talking with Dame Jones Sawyer. We take this final break and we'll wrap things up in 5 minutes, 15 minutes thereabouts, because she's got to go. But I have calls on the line. I want to just get them in. After this short little break, we're going to run to break and come right back here in a minute. Dame Jones Sawyer is my special guest today, and it's been a wonderful experience to sit and talk with her because she just says it. And when she says it, you've got to understand what is being said. Pick it up, run with it, because it's a woman who means business. She is no nonsense. And the country needs such a person somewhere in there to keep things balanced. We're back in just a minute.
Where can you find boil and stew fish, sheep tongue, turkey, pig feet, chicken, mutton sauce, and stew conch served at breakfast, lunch, and dinner time? At the South House, we provide a relaxed family atmosphere in the center of the city, and we have been serving tasty dishes since 1982. Experienced is what we are, and cooking is what we do. We also serve traditional Bahamian soups. We serve dinner specials from a smothered red snapper to sweet desserts like guava duff and lots more. Stop in and let us serve you today.
Hi all, Steve McKinney here to remind you that you don't have to spend big bucks to advertise or promote your products, services, or business. Call the McKinney Media Group Limited today and let the professionals fix you up a package, affordable and effective and guaranteed to grow your business. Advertise like the big boys at a fraction of the cost. Call the McKinney Media Group at 325-0235 or 325-0236. The McKinney Media Group, number 17 Gibbs Lane, Fort Charlotte. We make it our business to help you achieve success in your business.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and generators back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Exec, not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
Do you feel trapped and unable to move because of debt? Are you trying to meet your monthly obligations but still falling behind? Then what you need is a fresh start. BOB's Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan will combine your existing debts into one easy monthly payment, restoring your financial freedom and getting you back on track with a built-in savings plan. Talk to us today about your BOB Consolidation Loan. BOB, your bank of solutions.
Ah, it tastes so good. Fresh, clear, ultra pure. Available at your neighborhood depot and nearest store. Echo Water, premium distilled. Don't be surprised. It comes in just your size. 20 ounces, 1 and 5 gallons, and 1.5 liters. Just what the body needs.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
Welcome back to Hard Copy right here on Peace 107.5 FM. We appreciate your participation today, and so we've taken a number of calls. I'll perhaps take just another call and call of the day here, and of course, Dame Jones Sawyer, who has been a wonderful guest here this evening on the show, because there's so many things that we're looking at. We were really looking today from the premise of how do we right size and get the country back in a particular position, and this is not going to be a one-time shot. We've got to do a series of shows to kind of talk ourselves into doing the right things and getting on the right road, and plus to keep people honest. This is a dispensation of honesty. Honesty must prevail. We need new brand of politicians. We need new people in the church who, in fact, are going to be very focused on the needs of people. And that's service-oriented focus. And so we must not lose sight of that. And so you're going to hear these kinds of shows coming out of Hard Copy, not so much the daily run of the of this political thing. Everything is politics. We will have a lot of that, I'm sure, because politics isn't everything. We're polarized by politics in this country. But the fact of the matter is that we've got to try to keep us focused, because there are many things that we must accomplish in this particular
dispensation of time. So how I look at it now, I'm going to take this final call here and call this my final call for the day. How are you?
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Peace and love. All is well.
Excellent. Firstly, and of course, good evening to Dame Jones Sawyer.
Good evening, sir.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for the soundbite, the earlier soundbite in one of your adverts. Saw that you played one of the contributions I made to your show, so I thank you for that.
Exactly.
Moving right along, I would like to, it's always refreshing to hear when Dame Jones Sawyer comes to your show because she brings a wealth of knowledge that we as Bahamians can appreciate. So you know what? I just want, if you give me 2 seconds of your time, I'd just like to just make a public statement on to her personally.
Yes.
Because I would like to sing her accolades while she's alive. Recognizing that she's a godly, valiant, courageous woman who has words of wisdom, especially for today's time. I would like to just give her my sentiments. I realize that she's a wise, learned, articulate individual, and she has been hitting all the nails squarely on the head today. There's everything that she said today that, she just left me in amazement. And Dame Jones Sawyer, as a Bahamian, I'm really, really thankful to know that we have someone who is not only a person of truth and justice in this country, but you stand on godly principles. That is what's really missing in our parliament, especially in these days. It seems as if they are gods to themselves, and they fail to realize that there is one that they will have to answer to at the end of the day. So in essence, all law-abiding citizens are highly concerned with the current crime wave in this country, and for the fear of being victims of it. And you have spoken articulately to them, and I'm pretty sure that wise counsel would be that our law enforcement, as well as our current parliamentary caucus, as far as our government is concerned, would be sadly, I would say sadly amiss if they do not listen to your wise counsel, at least get you involved in some of the processes going forward in order to bring some type of civility to justice as far as this country needs right now. We need to find rectifying situations. And what you have done so aptly is that you have articulated lots of the solutions today, that if we were to actually use them, we could begin the process of actually bringing healing to this land. And I'll close with this. I, for one, thank you for the gracious service for Bahamians and the Bahamas as a whole, because I want you, more than anything, your words are profound. People are listening to you, and I'm going to tell you, you're highly appreciated. I want you to continue your stance for truth and justice for the Bahamian people and the Bahamas as a whole. And I just wanted to express that to you, madam, to know, so you can know that there are Bahamians out here who truly appreciate you for who you are. Thank you, Steve, for taking my call.
Thank you very much for your call, and thank you for your kind sentiments.
Thank you, sir. What I would say to you is what I said when I was leaving the bench. If I've done anything good, give God the glory. Whatever wrong things I've done, blame me.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, listen, I don't blame you for a thing today, except that I'm going to say to you that I expect we can retire from this session today, but we've got to have many more talking sessions, conversations, God willing. We must, God willing, make that a part of our itinerary if we can, in fact, at all, wherever possible, that you can come back and we can discuss some other things. We only kind of scratched the surface today, just feeling out and seeing what's happening, what the weather is like here, that kind of stuff. And but we're going to turn on the afterburners a little later on when and get this jet really smoking in the air, that kind of thing. So because we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm well aware that we need steady, forward-thinking leadership. We need a steady foundational stand on a number of things that we are about to encounter in the country, and that's one of the reasons why I've decided that I want to engage Dame Jones Sawyer if she would so kindly respond, and you did, just so that we can begin the conversations. You see? So I thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And it's been my pleasure.
Okay. Are you off today,
We're almost off, not just yet. Let me just do this. Let me say that let's go home, Stevie. That's how we go home. We do that every day. Sometimes we throw a little pea soup and dumpling in that and say we're going to go pea soup and dumpling. Not today. No pea soup today, unfortunately. We had soup early today. But the point is, tomorrow on the show, we're going to be back here on Hard Copy at 5 o'clock. And let me just tell you, tomorrow on the show, we have another treat for you. Obi Wilshcombe is coming to the show tomorrow. Obi Wilshcombe will be here on the show tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And then thereafter, I tell you, this is going to be a big week. So we've got a number of people coming this week, and we're beginning that move now. I went home and went down to Exuma, I should say, and got a little salt in, felt a little better and all that. And we come back with a vengeance now. We've got many things to talk about. We've got new energy. So for those of you who thought that when Steve say he's getting tired, he may stop the show. No, we are now invigorated. We're coming back now to do a number of things to get it done. So Obi Wilshcombe will be here tomorrow. We're going to talk about tourism, and we're going to talk about the things, the aspects of tourism and why certain things ought to happen. And we believe that he's one who has a lot to contribute. We'll be talking with him tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Hard Copy has been brought to you today by Seafowl, Bank of the Bahamas, the New South House, Super Value, Rocky Farms, Water and Sewage, Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, Commonwealth Bank, Cool Tech, Bahamian Brewery, Superwash, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, Ron's Electric Motors, Executive Printers, and McKinney Media Group Limited for advertisement, public relations, and consultation. We appreciate the fact today that we've had Jones Sawyer on. We bless her, and we say that Godspeed until we see each other again for another round of great talk.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.
All alone she was living in a way